Hey everyone, Elias here from Foundation Chicago. Today we're going to work some assertive guard pulls into sweeps, into leg entanglements, where we can go for finishes with foot and leg locks. And that can also allow us to improve into other positions. We're also going to work from the half guard into a leg entanglement where we can work for all those aforementioned things. We're starting with double wrist control. The hypothetical situation is here. We're not able to get inside, or we don't want to get inside. Can't get an underhook, an overhook, get close enough to do any of that good stuff. This works for gi or no gi. But we're able to grab our opponent's wrists. We're going to go two hands on one of their wrists. Get head to head. Push them backwards. If they resist, as soon as they start coming forward to resist, we pull them in as we drop our levels. We're right underneath their hips, allows us to go into a leg entanglement. That's single leg X. Let's take a little deeper look at single leg X here. We're going to work for a sweep. At this point, I've got my partner's right leg trapped. So I look over my left shoulder, shoot my hips up and into them, and I get the sweep. From here, I can work for ankle locks, toe holds, even outside heel hooks, or I can do a technical stand-up, come on up for sweep points and work to pass. Now let's look at what happens if our opponent peels our outside foot away, as they might want to. We're going to take that outside foot, put it inside behind their leg on top. Our other leg is going to go to the bottom behind the heel. From here, I have an overhook grip with my left. I sweep my bottom foot out to my right in this instance and bow my left towards the left. I can stay here and start looking for ankle locks, outside heel hooks, or I could technical stand up to my feet or my knees and start working passes. In this case, I left his heel in my hand. It's going to make it hard for him to hustle up, and then I can kind of pass it over, looking up, dragging my hips across and dragging it for the pass. Now we're in closer quarters. We have over under, and we're going to work for an assertive butterfly guard pass. First situation, we're able to push them backwards, misdirect, drop our level with an inside butterfly hook at the same time, sufficient that we can actually get a momentum sweep and end up on top. Okay, we're not able to dig in for underhooks. We're kind of in this neutral position where my opponent has one underhook, I've got one underhook, he's got a potential overhook, I've got a potential overhook. That's the scenario we're working with. Maybe we can improve the position, maybe we feel our opponent's going to get the advantage on us and take us down, so we're going to go down on our terms. With our over-under position, I'm going to drive towards him. We're not going to use brute strength to pull them onto us or get underneath them. We're going to try as best we can to walk them backwards, get the natural reaction for them to push back in towards us. This is a real big sensitivity situation, right? When we feel them walking backwards, resisting our drive forward, and they want to move forward, that's our opportunity to take away the wall that is our body. Drop levels. I'm moving my right leg in this instance, as you'll see, to the inside butterfly hook here. Make that connection, flare your toes up, strengthening your Achilles, have a nice little push-pull mechanism with our butterfly hook. I'm going to drop my levels soon with that butterfly hook in place. When my butt hits the ground, I'm going to turn towards the left, the side that I have my underhook on, so that hopefully Patrick can't stop the momentum with his right hand. Kick up, kick over, and I got to make sure I follow up. Now I'm in top position, ready to attack legs, ready to work for passes. Now we're going to go from the same over-under position on the feet, work an assertive guard pull. But in this hypothetical situation, we haven't been able to successfully get underneath the hips of our partner, okay? We're not able to get under them sufficient to work right into a sweep. They kind of stand strong and stand straight. And so what we're going to do at that point is then scoot ourselves into a single leg position. He's standing strong, good base. I take my left hand to his right leg, cut an angle, get underneath his hips, work into the single leg X position. From here, of course, I can start working into the X guard as well. In this next scenario, we're on bottom in half guard with a knee shield. our opponent on top is pressing forward. So ostensibly, we're framing away with our two hands on his bicep. Our knee shield is framing away, trying to resist that forward pressure of Patrick on top. In reality, we're going to use that momentum against him. If we can take our frames on his bicep, swim underneath, clear that potential crossface and duck our head underneath, then we can start pushing away manually on the lat. Right here, I'm swimming underneath his frame, which if he were to crossface me would stop this entry. We're going to work into a single leg X on Patrick's right leg here. In order to do that, I've got to clear that potential crossface, turning my pushing away frame into a ducking under, pulling and pushing away. Now I've got an angle. First and foremost, he's not in front of me. He can't attack me, punch me, work for a pass. But I've also got his one leg isolated with mine too. It's important that I'm pushing away on him so he's not facing towards me, and also so that his right heel is light. When it's light, we've got heel exposure. We can work for outside heel hooks. We can work for leg locks, toe holds. We can also, as you'll see in a little bit, pop it over to our other side because he does not have weight on it. When it's heavy, when his heel's on the ground, it's not at risk for a heel hook, and he can also face up and start working to pass. We'll see what happens here if Patrick can get heavy on that leg. He could stand, he could put pressure, he could face us, now he's got offense. We've got to push him away, put our feet on the hips, anywhere we can place them really. Make that heel light. We can work for heel exposure. We could tuck on underneath for different leg locks. We could also pass it over our body. And we're going to work for a back take from here. We have stand-ups into single leg takedowns that we're not going to go over, but we can go for that. We've got a lot of options here, but first and foremost, we're defending ourselves nicely when we off-balance our opponent on top. We may have to do this several times. So they're going to put the heel down and square up. We're going to push away, get heel exposure. Right here, I've got some heel exposure on Patrick. I can work for the gable grip to attack it there. I can move over to my side, work for things like a straight ankle lock or a one-handed toe hold, pinning his leg down. Right here, I'm grabbing at the top of the toes, working for a toe hold. Got a lot of leg lock finish options from here in that position. We're going to focus in on something that anybody at any belt level can do here. My left foot is not over my opponent's center line, so it's not reaping. I'm going to shoot my hips up. After already destabilizing and getting some heel exposure, making that lead leg of Patrick's light, when I push away and get him to kind of put his weight on his rear, whether it's his butt, his leg, his knees, we have the opportunity to shoot our hips up, get two hands on his foot, ideally on his heel, pass it across our own center line. Right now, his foot's on my left rib cage. I want to move it to the opposite side rib cage. At that point, you do have some inside heel hook options that we'll go over later. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of his back exposure here. His leg was in the way, potentially, of us sitting up. Now, tucking his leg with my right arm, my armpit around his ankle and foot, my right hand up around the knee. I'm going to exit my left foot off the hip and sit on up. As my left foot hits the ground, kind of like a windmill or a slow shrimp like I was doing here, my left hand's going to come around the waist or the back, and I'm behind the opponent here and have some real good opportunity for back attacks. I'm going to see it now from another angle. I've destabilized Patrick, putting his weight on the back. Gives some heel exposure, allows me to hip up, pass it over. We're going to do this quickly with timing, but we're not going to take for granted the connection either. I'm grabbing his knee, tucking his foot and ankle around and underneath my armpit. I disconnect from his hip with my left foot and come on up. My left foot should be hitting the mat around the time my left hand is grabbing around his waist or his back. Obviously in the gi, you can have some fun cheating. Grab belts. If we grab the back, we're good. I'm nice and snug. I exit out my right leg. I've got this back exposure now, and I can work for attacks. I can drive forward. I can try to get hooks in. Got a lot of fun options there. What we're going to do next is work into a 411 position or honey hole position. from that same passover, that same kind of leg passover, and work into a position where we could attack inside heel hooks really well. So same idea, destabilize, get him light on that lead foot. We're gonna get 2 hands on one, shoot the hips up in order to pass his leg over. Whereas in the last one, we were hustling up for a back take. At this point, we're gonna reap over. Our left foot is gonna come off of the hip. We're gonna go side, then belly down to tuck this inside. Now we're isolating his right leg from an inside position. His heel is exposed. I can begin attacking it right here with a heel hook. If I'd like, I could also continue rolling over my left shoulder into a knee bar, and we've got potential backside heel hook options as well. In this case, I kind of roll back to my butt to illustrate the heel exposure. Oh, little bonus, something I forgot to put earlier from the double wrist control 2-on-1 guard pull. What if we don't get directly under his hips? Patrick stands strong and away. That's all right. Put the feet on the hips, reach over with our hands to a heel. Now let's say pulls that arm away. We switch, foot on the hip, other foot underneath his heel, push and pull. Keep that heel of his up until we get up. Take top position and score.